Someone recently commented on my channel and said, any ice cars, Nobby? And then someone from BMW said, you had the M5, why don't you take the revised M2 and do a little comparison? I was like, okay. This is the 2025 BMW M2, still a twin-turbo 3-litre, but now with almost 480 brake horsepower, because 400 and almost 60 wasn't enough, apparently. Really, apart from that, not much has changed on the outside. These wheels are an upgrade. I mean, this car isn't even washed, and it still looks so menacing. Tell me if you're not. Maybe you're not a massive fan of the front of it. You might think it looks a little bit weird. The nose on it, the body kit might be just too much for some people. Obviously an M2 there with that badge nicely displayed. An inline-six underneath that bonnet. And it's €900 extra to get it in a manual. Apart from the really flared wheel arches, the rear lenses that work beautifully with the contrast of the black and the grey, and then the quad exhausts, which, as you can hear, sound absolutely beautiful. Another reminder for people who want to tailgate you because they think they can go as fast as you, there's an M2 badge. From certain angles, it more or less looks like a little muscle car, and I love it. One difference inside the car since the last time I tested one, that had a leather steering wheel. This has the Alcantara wrapped. It's about 700 quid, and it's chunky, as BMW do like to have chunky steering wheels, but it just adds to the whole thing. There's still an automatic gear shifter if you go for the automatic version. Remember, it's €900 extra to get a manual. There's still lots of red buttons in M style that say, go on, press me, I dare you. These M2 badges light up at night time, and the M colours also light up in the door cards. And there's a sea of carbon fibre effect all over the dash. There's some ambient lighting that you can change. A very useful camera for reversing, and then there's the usual screen that you can see everything on here. It's very easy to set up your different M modes. You press this, and then a window of about 50 million different settings come into play here, and you can obviously save your preference on an M1 and an M2 button, and then that is the default setting whenever you press your red button. So you can have the chassis, for example, in Comfort Sport or Sport Plus. It's still hard in Comfort, more about that in a second. This BMW system, which is in all their cars, is very, very layered, very, very complicated. I do like, however, that they've done this. Your recently used button will bring you into the most recently used things, obviously, which is very handy if you can't find recently used things, because there's just so many. There are probably some times when having a manual stick shift in a car like this is no doubt fun. My own car is a manual, and it requires work. Like, you've got to work it. And I'd imagine this car, you would be changing gear lots and lots. This 8-speed automatic is quicker to 100 kilometers an hour, and it gets more torque. Do I see this car becoming a bit of a collector's car the way maybe the Yaris GR has? Hard to say, but possibly. And there will definitely be depreciation in a new one of these, but I'd imagine it will level out. And will someone want a manual version more? It's debatable, but possibly. But I have recently obviously driven the M5. You can have a look at that video. I'll link it at the end. This is a very different car. It's not as practical for starters. It's not as useful. There's very little space in the boot. There's very little space in the rear. But if you do want that M driving experience, if you want something that is a little bit twitchy, and will make you slightly have a squeaky bottom from time to time. This is the car for you. Now, I'm not saying the M5 didn't do those things. It did. It just had like all 2.6 ton or something of it sliding towards a wall. This, weirdly though, feels the slightly more dangerous car. It's more leery, it's more tail happy. Obviously it's just rear wheel driving like the M5, but just the balance of weight, the whole thing, it's a more pure M feeling experience. And is this the E46 M3 of its day? That car only needed 343 brake horsepower, and that was insanely quick. This one now needs 480 for some reason. I do love the noise of M cars though. Having had a V8 one, I just drove past a lady there who was frantically waving her hand up and down to tell me to slow down. No. It's an M car. That's what it's for. But my point is, they make noise and it makes them seem like you're traveling at intergalactic speeds when actually you're not. You will get around 11 litres per 100 kilometers, which is better than a Golf 4 for the mix of driving you'll be doing. I think that's pretty impressive actually for a car with a 3-litre engine. It's incredibly firm. If you don't like driving on bumpy roads but you can't avoid it, it's not going to be the most comfortable car for you. As like M cars of the day, you can manipulate how quick the gear changes take place with just a little switch on the gear or an automatic gear stick shifter. So there's 3 levels of that. Think of like sport mode, the way a car holds on to the revs for longer, but you can do it on 3 different levels in this car. I suppose you got to get something for your 115,000 euro. The steering is so direct and sharp. It does all the things that you would like a little squishy sports car to do. I don't want to say it's comparable to a 911 in lots of ways. It's not. In lots of ways, a 911 is actually an easier, more comfortable car to live with on a daily basis. But for people that can't afford a new one of those anymore, this will probably give you a lot of thrills and spills without the badge and without the running costs. But even the road tax on this is 1,200 quid. And if you've owned an M car in a past life, you'll probably think that's a bargain. If you want something else that's rear-wheel drive, grey, expensive to tax, has a 6-cylinder, in fact a flat 6, there's always a used 911 for pretty much a third of the price of the new M2. And while one is going to depreciate, these are hopefully appreciating. I'll do another separate video on this car, which is my own 911, when I get a chance, but some of you have been asking to have a quick look around of it, so hopefully this gives you a little bit of a sneak preview. And it's a car that had a bit of reputation as being the Widowmaker, but I think that was certainly pre-996, maybe even 993. Certainly with 997, there's enough safety aids to keep you on the straight and narrow. And this has a manual gearbox, so you have that little bit more control. However, literally before I started filming this piece, this came on, and you won't get that in a brand new BMW, and if you did, you'd have a warranty. And now I have to worry about this all weekend and figure out how much that might cost. Weirdly, the 911 is actually the more comfortable car to drive around in. On a good road, or even a kind of a poorly surfaced road, the suspension isn't as harsh. The steering feel, yeah, okay, it's not really a fair comparison, but it's just an indication of the prices of used classics versus brand new stuff. There is quite a difference. And this still has a flared wheel arch and a manual gearbox that won't cost me 900 quid extra, and has that glorious flat 6 sound whenever you want it on tap. Nearly at any speed. Now it is damp, but you'll see that traction light flick away at you as it tries its best to get the power down in these Yokohama tires. Michelin Pilot Sport M5s probably would be the tire you'd want. If you are that caught up in changing gear, by the way, there are paddles. Again, fourth gear, traction light coming on. It's just it's a different level of rawness. It's like a Doberman that's just been unleashed from his cage after a week. That's what this car is like. And I'm not saying you can't live with it in the normal mundane stuff of life. You can, but stop-start traffic, it can be a little bit jerky, even with the automatic. Pulling away is kind of an art you have to master. Can't manage to get this thing to budge unless you really do provoke it, and then it comes into its own. It's insanely quick. It's a different offering to the M5. If you don't need that space, this is definitely the M car you want. Traction light. You and the traction light will be on first name terms in this car. The in-gear acceleration and everything, just the whole package. It is an absolute doozy. Listen to that engine. It just has this urgency. I mean, the M5 is an absolute monster with over 700 brake horsepower, but this is just so much more nimble, and it just wants to dance at every opportunity. The M5 is just something a little bit more cuddly these days. Still a great car. I loved it. And people giving out about it probably haven't driven it. But this is a different level of rawness. And if raw is what you want, and you want a 2025 plate on your M car, this is the one you're going to have to buy. It's that simple. Yeah, 115,000. It's a lot of money. This is a lot of little car. Yeah, you should buy the new BMW M2, particularly if you've got the 115,000 euro to afford it. The other thing is, if you have that kind of money, there is the BMW M5, which has nearly 10% of the road tax that this car has. It's not quite a 10, but it's not far off it. So the extra price of the M5, if you kept it for 10 years, you'd nearly make up the difference in road tax alone. But if someone like you doesn't buy these cars, the rest of us won't be able to afford them used. So please do buy it. And if you want a raw M card, well, this is probably the rawest and last of the raw versions, if you get me. It's a lot of fun, and it might just kill you in a good way. Thanks for watching. See you next time.